Okay, so being a notary is awesome and amazing and very lucrative. But what if I told you that a lot of notaries all across the country are making five massive mistakes that are not only costing them time, they're also costing them money. Now, I'm going to go over my top five mistakes I see new and experienced notaries making, and I'm going to tell you how to avoid these mistakes. And also, my bonus tip is going to tell you how you, as a notary in any state in the U.S., can start making great money working as a notary. Okay, so let's jump right in. My number one mistake I see notaries make is they pay for everything. Okay, so when you get your commission, first of all, it's public information, everyone knows, and companies that regularly track notaries in the online database, they see when you get your commission. So how many notaries out there have gotten their commission and immediately started getting tons of emails, mailers, phone calls from companies trying to sell them something? Okay, so most new notaries, especially if it's your first business, you don't know a lot of that stuff you don't need. Prime example, if you get an LLC, you will start getting tons of, I call spam mail, with companies trying to sell you, oh, you got to get these like posters and this regulation this and this and that. No, okay, you don't need any of that stuff. And then as a notary, you start getting all these emails for directories, for memberships, for supplies, for groups, all types of things that you do not need. So you're gonna say, well, Vanessa, how am I supposed to know what I need and what I don't need? That is a tricky slope. So one thing I tell all my students is just email me. I tell you, before you buy anything, just shoot me an email and say, hey, this came in the mail. This came in my email. I saw this on social. Do I need this? And I'm going to tell you one of three things. I'm going to say, yes, that's a good purchase. 2, no, that's a horrible purchase. It's a scam. You don't need it. Or 3 being, you don't have to have that. I can see why it would add value, but it's not necessary or mandatory to build that business. However, if you have extra revenue or extra income and you want to go ahead and get that, it's more of a luxury item or a luxury thing that you can get that will help boost your revenue or what have you, but you don't have to have it. Number 2, notaries are joining Facebook groups that are driving them mad, okay? So if you are in a Facebook group that is driving you mad, being that people are rude or mean or all those things or just negative Nancy's, get out and run. Not only that, my biggest problem with Facebook groups is people are giving people the wrong information. What you have to remember, 2 things. 1, Facebook groups are usually national, which means the laws vary across the country. And so what works in Florida may not work in Nevada, may not work in New York. And so you're gonna get different rules. And what happens is people are in these groups and I don't know if they don't realize they're not in the same area and they're like, oh, just do this or you can't do that. And it's like, you don't even live in the same place. You don't know what they can and cannot do. Please stop. Not only that, most notaries, I say most because I've been training, I've had seminars, I speak at the NNA conference every year, I speak all over the country. And whenever I ask a group of notaries who's read their handbook, 90% of them say they have not. So to jump into a Facebook group and ask questions for people about the notary space, remember this, the majority of them have not read their handbook, period. Here's the thing, too, people say, well, I read it. Okay, let me rephrase. The majority of them do not remember their handbook. So I just feel like when you're starting off in a new business venture, you need support. And a lot of times what I'm hearing is just from the groups that I've joined and then exited, but from other students telling me like this is just not okay. So if you're a new or existing notary and you have been Facebook group bullied, please remove yourself. Number 3, the mistakes I see notaries make is they don't read their handbook and they don't know their law. And I can tell you, like, people, I don't know why like notaries don't put a lot of emphasis on this, and they're like so bent on, oh, let me go talk to title companies. Honey, come here real quick. Before you talk to title, I'm gonna need you to know what an acknowledgement is. That's what I need you to know. And it's like everyone just bypasses like the law and what's important. And the reason why I know that, I'll get people who call me and say, Vanessa, can I notarize this or can I do this? But the question is worded in a way where I can tell you didn't read your handbook, you know, and they'll ask certain questions where I can say, okay, well, what notarial act are you performing? And they'll say, what do you mean? And I'll say, well, are you notarizing it? And they're like, yeah. I said, what notarial act are you performing? I don't know what you're talking about. It's a power of attorney. No. Okay? And so it's really important that you read your handbook. If you just took time to actually learn what a notary's job is and actually mastered the law for your state, you wouldn't have to call for questions on how do I complete this document? How do I help this client? Because you would know what you're allowed and not allowed to do. Okay, today, right now, stop, pause me, go get your state handbook, sit down, read it, highlight it, study it, make little index cards, and know what you're allowed to do. Or they'll say, well, I notarized this document, is it complete? I've read a lot of state handbooks, I'm not gonna say all 50, but every state will tell you what has to be on a notarial act to be complete. Number 4 mistake, and I'm telling you, it's crazy, it blows my mind, is that notaries are out here using ineffective marketing techniques that I'm sure they got out of a Facebook group. For example, people come to me and they say, oh, well, I wanted to get into loan closing, so I went to banks, brick and mortar bank locations, and I started passing out my cards. Ineffective marketing. Who told you to do that? Well, they all kept telling me they had their own notary and they're not in charge of the closing process and basically just telling her, why are you here? And if you would have just asked me, I would have told you, why are you there? So I had another student who joined the program and she was like, I spent all this money. I said, on what? I bought a billboard. Who told you to buy a billboard? Who said that? I saw it in a Facebook group. Oh my goodness. Well, I was in another Facebook group and they told me, we don't need to have a website. What year is it? When you need something, what do? You go to your phone and you go to Google or YouTube. So the idea that someone's telling you don't need a website, they're like, oh, just pass out your cards. Pass out your cards. You are one person. Google is billions of people, okay? No, seriously. You are one person. How is your one body with your 500 cards from Vistaprint, how is that going to have the impact? First of all, what if you pass out 500 cards to people that don't need notary services? What? When you can spend all of your time building up your website and your Google profile page to optimize Google to just bring you people who are typing in notary near me, so you know anybody that's coming to you already needs a notary. And another thing they're doing too is they're using the same marketing for everything. You market differently for each client base. So for example, general notary work, I market differently to nursing homes and hospitals than I do to attorneys. Loan closing, I market differently to signing services than I do title companies. Field inspections, apostilles, weddings, all completely different marketing strategies. And so if you're using one basic way to market, it's ineffective and you're not gonna have as much reach as you think that you are. And a lot of times, because we haven't taken the time to actually learn our market and we're just in Facebook groups and say, hey, what did you do? I got a billboard. I'm gonna get one too. Please stop. My number 5, and this is a big one because I usually don't address it. I kind of just say, okay, but this is really important. Y'all need to stop listening to people who do not have the results you're looking for. So this is kind of like a pivot off of the Facebook group, but it's a little different. So if you are trying to hit a goal in your business, right? And you're like, okay, I want to become a 6-figure notary. You should be listening to other 6-figure notaries who have done it already. And for the record, I'm not talking about COVID 6-figure notaries. And there's no shade to y'all because we made great money during COVID. But COVID was a fluke. COVID was a Narnia, okay? So yes, it was very easy to make 6 figures during COVID. Anybody could have did it, okay? My grandma could have did it. What I will tell you is most of those COVID 6-figure notaries are not doing it anymore. And they're the ones that are on YouTube saying, oh, the industry is dead. Honey, the industry was alive before COVID and it will continue after. And then right after COVID, what happened? We went from like super low interest rates to like super high interest rates. And of course, it was very discouraging to a lot of people. But what you will see is the notaries that have been doing this for years didn't go anywhere because they understand the market, okay? They understand the industry. And so when you're looking for someone to teach you and to help you, it's really important that you find someone who has, one, been through the ups and the downs in the market, who can tell you how to navigate a storm, but also they have the results over the long term. So they have what you're looking for. I'm not saying that you can't make friends and buddy partners with someone in your area who's working on hitting six figures. You can absolutely do that. But guess what? The notary that's hitting six figures and the notary who's not, is still making mistakes that the six-figure notary is not making anymore. And that's why I say you always go to the best in a space, because it's like anything. If someone is not, let's say someone is at 100%. The person that's at 50%, they're there because they're not doing something right. They're doing some things right. They're doing more than the 0%er is doing, but they're still making mistakes that the 100% person isn't making. Okay, so my bonus mistake for you guys is analysis paralysis. Okay, I can't tell you the amount of students, and it's probably you, who have sat down, watched tons of videos, not just my channel, but everybody else's channel, bought everybody's courses, and they're just like this. Okay? You have to actually implement what you're learning. And so, for example, if you take my training, the Ultimate Notary Training at notarytonotary.com, do the Notary Sign Agent Part 1 and 2. The way it's set up, Part 1 is in steps. So when, let's say for example, one module is talking about getting your commission, go do that. Then handbook, go do that. Then website, go. It's like in steps of what you have to do. So it's not like, let me just sit down and just let the computer talk to me for a minute. No, it's actually ingesting and then going and doing those things. Same thing with my YouTube channel. So when I have videos that are telling you, hey, I did this, or I'm doing this, you should do this, don't just sit there and say, that was good information, I'm gonna go cook dinner. No, actually say, hey, I like that idea, I'm going to go do this. A lot of you guys are full of classes and YouTube and trainings and certifications, and you have not gone out and done one notarization. So I want you guys to really start pushing yourself. If you're afraid, that's okay. You're only gonna be afraid the first couple ones you do. After that, you're like, oh, this was easy. Just like driving. Weren't you scared to drive a car when you first started driving? But guess what? You can drive now, can't you? Can't you? Exactly. And now I see, because you drive and eat at the same time. I've been watching you. Oh, is that me? Anyway, at the point. All right, so those are my top 6 mistakes I see new and experienced notaries making. If you want to learn how to build a successful notary business and not make these mistakes, definitely get into my training at notarytonotary.com. Get the Ultimate Notary Training. That's the foundation of where you want to be. Once you implement all of those, then you can get into more of our advanced trainings like the elite training, government contracting, and things like that. But you don't want to do any of that stuff until you master everything inside the Ultimate Notary Training. We don't want to, again, try to catch 10 rabbits, because then you catch none, okay? All right, you can be a 6-figure notary signing agent. And until next time, happy signing.